Hare Krishna, and welcome everyone to this evening's reading of Venu Gita by His Holiness Shivaram Swami, Krishna and Vrindavan series. We are on the final chapter called The Gopis Meet Krishna. And we read from this chapter a couple days ago about how Srimati Radharani and her gopis were out in the forest looking for Krishna, and they saw a tamal tree, what they thought was a tamal tree, but it was actually Krishna himself posing as a tamal tree. And Radhika realized in the end that it was Krishna, and then she was very ecstatic to be with Krishna there. So now we're picking up after that, just pastime finished, and here we are. Thereafter, continuing their Leela once again, even Saraswati, the goddess of speech, was unable to describe the joy Radha and Krishna experienced in the company of their friends as they met once again under the starlit canopy of Vraj. As the full moon beheld the unprecedented festival of dancing, singing, and merriment, it lost all sense of time, and being stunned, failed to move from its lofty perch. Only when an impatient sun made its desire known by the reddish glow in the east did the moon continue its orbit, fainting into the horizon in bliss. Wow. So the moon became overwhelmed by observing Radha and Krishna's pastimes and became stunned and didn't move. It just stayed there high in the sky. It wasn't going down the way it was supposed to. And only when the sunrise was coming, that the moon fainted in bliss and went down quickly. At that juncture, between day and night, the all-blissful realm of Vrindavan, which always increases the pleasure of the eternal Prince Regent, his intimate associates, and the elevated transcendentalists who know nothing but his service, paused as the divine couple rested. So wait, what paused? The all-blissful realm of Vrindavan. So Vrindavan took a little break there while Radha and Krishna were resting. Then once again, as the rays of the early morning sun heralded the beginning of another day of inconceivable happiness, that is the eternal pastimes of Sri Krishna, the aromatic breezes stirred the leaves, the forest vines stretched on their tree supports, the birds began to sing, forest creatures awoke, the seasons competed for service, the bees began their songs, and the youthful Prince of Raj, rising from his forest cot of petals, took the hearts of his beloved gopis as he made his way to Nandagaon, fearing his mother would see him gone. A lot of things happened when Krishna woke up. Another day will pass, and the gopis will meet again to discuss the eternally attractive pastimes of Sri Krishna. Although they may see the fortune of all other beings superior to their own, the very mood of their meditation is to witness to their great opulence. The very mood of their meditation is the witness to their great opulence of love. That unconditional, pure, innocent, and selfless love of the gopis, which purchases the heart of Achyuta Krishna, who is not attained by countless years of meditation by the Gyanis, Karmis, or mystic yogis, is the guarantee of their meeting with him again and again. So if we want to meet Krishna again and again, we have to have unconditional, pure, innocent, and selfless love. Throughout the Venu Gita, the gopis have exhibited great distress due to the rising tidal wave of their love. This is no mundane misery, for it is the ultimate treasure of life, and their songs are the glorification of their own greatness. Although they repeatedly lament their misfortune, what Shukadeva Goswami describes is the glorification of their unparalleled good fortune. So the gopis are lamenting their misfortune, but Shukadeva Goswami describes their unparalleled good fortune. So this, what they perceive as misfortune, the pain of separation from Krishna, is actually the greatest treasure, the highest good fortune. In his conclusion to this chapter, Srila Prabhupada emphasizes that the gopis' constant remembrance of Sri Krishna, which is known as smarana, is the perfection of devotional life for sadhakas and siddhas alike. It should be achieved somehow or other. The Bhagavad Gita also states, Manmana Bhava, or always think of me. According to the Vedic scriptures like Padma Purana, absorption in thoughts of Krishna is not simply a process of devotional life, but is the primary goal served by all the rules of sadhana. It is said, Smartavya satatam Vishnu, vismartavyo najatuchit, sarve vidhi nishedhasyur, etayor eva kinkara. Lord Vishnu should always be remembered and never forgotten at any time. All the rules and prohibitions mentioned in the Shastras should be the servants of these two principles. Constant remembrance, smaranam, is cultivated by regular hearing of topics related to Krishna, known as shravanam, and the repetition of such glories with special emphasis on his holy names is known as kirtanam. To gain a better understanding of the process of remembrance, which is given much emphasis by Srila Prabhupada and exemplified by the Gopis in Venu Gita, let us briefly study hearing and chanting as it relates to smaranam, and then the process of remembrance itself. By hearing of Krishna's many pastimes, like the killing of the demons who invade Vrindavan, tending the cows under the order of Nandamaraj, and rasa dancing with the gopis, the heart of a devotee is purified of sinful reaction, and he is relieved from the suffering of material conditions. So we're hearing these pastimes from Venu Gita, and he's saying that what's happening as we hear them is that our hearts are becoming purified of sinful reactions, and we're becoming relieved from the suffering of material conditions. In this way, the regular hearing of such topics leaves their impression within the purified mind of a devotee and invokes special sympathy from the Lord within. And so our hearts become purified, and then the topics leave their impression on our purified hearts. And then that hearing also invokes the sympathy of the Lord who is within the heart, and he sees this transformation happening. Then he assists in further purification and remembrance, as stated in the verse Srimvatan Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana. The process of hearing Krishna's pastimes from authorities is so powerful that the fearsome knot of lust binding the heart of the conditioned soul can be severed, and one quickly rises to the transcendental platform. Thus, hearing is the means by which the neophyte devotee gains an impression of Krishna Lila and becomes purified so that he can relish his pastimes. In this connection, the gopis say, to hear about the pastimes that Krishna regularly performs is nectar for the ears. For those who relish just a single drop of that nectar, even once, their dedication to material duality is ruined. Many such persons have suddenly given up their wretched homes and families, and themselves becoming wretched, traveled here to Vrindavan to wander about like birds, begging for their living. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:47-18. Now, in considering the process of kirtanam, it is well known to all Vaishnavas that the all-powerful religious practice for this age is the chanting of the holy names, glories, and pastimes of the Lord. Since all scriptures declare that kirtanam is the best limb of bhakti, it is the means by which a practitioner can enter into the realm of smaranam and cultivate development of remembrance. It should be remembered that Sri Krishna's name, form, qualities, pastimes, and abode are all manifestations of his Chit Shakti, as is the conditioned living entity, covered at present by the Achit material potency. By associating with the Chit attributes of the Lord, beginning with his name, the Achit nature, falsely adopted by association with the material energy, fades away, and the Swarup of the Jiva becomes manifest. At first, a devotee hears the name and receives the seed of devotion. By very careful cultivation through regular chanting, making a concentrated effort to become free from the offenses to the holy name, a Vaishnava must learn to do japa by clearly pronouncing all the syllables and words of the Mahamantra. When the name is clear, steady, chanted with delight, and without great effort, the devotee may delve deeper into the name by taking darshan of the Lord while chanting, with the eyes and then later with the mind. Gradually one will gain steadiness in this process, and the form of Krishna will immediately be remembered when the holy name is pronounced. So he's saying that we have to chant very attentively, reciting each syllable and hearing each syllable. And when we do this with great effort and determination, then we can begin to see the Lord. Of course, we can see the deity or picture of Krishna, but at an advanced stage, we don't need a picture or the deity to look at, but the form of the Lord manifests in one's mind. As soon as we hear the name, we can see the form. When the devotee has realized the form of Sri Krishna as non-different from his name, he has achieved the primary stage of success. This is only the primary stage of success in offenseless chanting. Having attained such good fortune, one should regularly hear Srimad Bhagavatam in the association of pure devotees and carefully avoid all forms of bad association. Having heard of the many qualities of Sri Krishna, such as his kindness, humor, magnanimity, and cleverness, a devotee will recall such attributes while chanting, with the eventual result that both Krishna's rupa and guna will appear in the mind at the mere mention of the name. So by hearing Krishna's pastimes from Srimad Bhagavatam regularly, then we become acquainted with Krishna's qualities as he exhibits them in his pastimes and dealings with devotees in Bhagavatam. And then when we hear Krishna's name, we see Krishna's form, and we also remember these amazing personal qualities of Krishna. The subsequent remembrance will be the pastimes of Sri Krishna, as exemplified by the verses of Venu Gita. When success is achieved in remembering the name, form, and qualities of Govinda, gradually the pastimes will manifest one at a time. At the time when revelation of Krishna's Leela occurs, Bhakti Devi, by a mixture of the Hladini and Samvit potencies, generally known as Shuddha Sattva, descends upon the devotee and reveals the ingredients of rasa, which leads to full absorption in the ever-continuing pastimes of Sri Krishna, revelation of one's eternal relationship, and realization of one's own spiritual form. So, as we chant, advance in chanting, then we hear the name, we can see Krishna's form within our mind and hearts. We appreciate his qualities, and then we start to see his pastimes. And pastimes, they manifest one at a time. And so at this time, then Bhakti Devi. So the point here is that we can't make this happen by ourselves, but we need to be blessed by the Lord's internal potency, which you can call Bhakti Devi, you can call the Samvit Shakti, the Hladini Shakti. So these potencies, internal potencies of the Lord, Shuddha Sattva, then they bless the devotee. And it says here, they descend upon the devotee, and they reveal one's eternal relationship with Krishna and one's eternal spiritual form in which one serves Krishna, and also reveals deeper aspects of the pastimes, and also maybe some additional pastimes, details of those pastimes which aren't necessarily in the pages of Bhagavatam, because Srimad Bhagavatam is only a sample, as we were talking the other day. In this way, the two practices of chanting and hearing contribute to the success of remembrance and the attainment of life's ultimate goal. The stages of development in bhakti leading to smaranam and its perfection are outlined by Srila Prabhupada in the Nectar of Instruction. They are described as follows. The first stage of devotional life is known as Shravana Dasha, the stage of hearing. Having heard from sadhus of the importance of spiritual life, the infallibility of the Vedic scriptures, and the supremacy of Sri Hari, a sadhaka develops faith in these principles, followed by a great eagerness to enter devotional practice. Then, under the guidance of Guru, when a devotee adopts the constant chanting and hearing of Krishna's transcendental holy name, form, and pastimes, taking a vow of eternal servitude to Sri Krishna and formal commitment to the path of devotional life, he attains to the stage of acceptance, or Varana Dasha. Varana Dasha is accompanied by a taste for the holy name and attachment to hearing Krishna Katha. Propelled by intensifying attachment to the name, the sadhaka reaches the preliminary stage of transcendence, and being able to chant the holy name in ecstasy, attains to the stage of remembrance, Smarana Vashta. It is the development of this smaranam that is the concern of the sincere aspirant. So, what are we aspiring for? We're aspiring for smaranam, but not just to remember, but with some intensity, right? Propelled by intensifying attachment to the name and chanting the name in ecstasy. In the evolution of chanting outlined earlier, from careful concentration on the name to realization of the Leela of Sri Krishna, the following stages of remembrance are to be found. Smarana is divided into 5 progressive stages according to the level of remembrance achieved by the practitioner, known as smaranam, recollection, dharana, absorption, dhyana, meditation, dhruva, anusmriti, constant remembrance, and samadhi, trance. At first, the ability to concentrate is limited due to the agitated nature of the restless mind, and thus, by making an effort, the sadhaka searches with his mind on the Lord, only to be swept away at the next moment by some irrelevant thought. This is known as smaranam, not to be confused with the entire process of smaranam of the same name. So it's kind of like stage 1 smaranam. After repeated effort to hear the name, a preliminary purification of the mind is achieved, which is accompanied by the occasional withdrawal from the external world and a slight ability to dwell on the Lord. This is known as dharana, absorption, or the slight ability to enter into remembrance. Third stage, known as dhyana or meditation, is the mature stage of absorption, which is characterized by an ability to fix the mind in thought of a specific form or pastime of Sri Hari. In dharana, the ability to remember is of a general nature, which in meditation becomes focused on a particular object. When the offenseless chanting and hearing of Krishna's extraordinary attributes invokes an uninterrupted and unimpeded remembrance that overwhelms the heart of the devotee with excessive bliss, such a state of constant remembrance is known as anusmriti. Samadhi, the final stage of smarana, and the mature stage of anusmriti, is equivalent to spiritual trance. Here, Sri Krishna is the only object of deep meditation, which takes place spontaneously under the influence of the spiritual potency, Chit Shakti, without any effort on the part of the devotee. So this is what we need. We need to get the mercy of the Lord so that this spiritual potency of Chit Shakti will influence us and allow us or pull us into this very deep, sustained meditation on Krishna and his name, form, qualities, and pastimes in such a way that we don't even have to make an effort. We don't have to try. So we can try to get into a deep meditative state, and that's, not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not our effort that's going to get us there. It's the mercy of the Lord. When the Lord is merciful, then he calls upon his internal potencies, which are all ultimately expansions of the original internal potency, Srimati Radharani, her potencies, to bless us with deep, deep meditation. During the development of samadhi, the 4th stage of spiritual growth, following smarana dasha, known as apana dasha or assimilation, during the development of samadhi, the 4th stage of spiritual growth, following smarana dasha, known as apana dasha or assimilation, takes place. Here, all incompatible material concepts that may have remained within the mind are swept away by the influence of the internal energy of the Lord. So again, the internal energy of the Lord sweeps away all of incompatible material concepts from our minds. And one is situated on the transcendental platform of bhava, having abandoned all identity with the material body, being always in the presence of Radha and Krishna and Vrindavan. When will that day be mine, right? The 5th stage, and that isn't even the last stage, the 5th stage, known as Sampati Dasha, is referred to by Srila Prabhupada as the perfection of life. Although in Apana Dasha one attains Swarup Siddhi, the devotee still maintains a connection with this material world via his body. So even when one devotee realizes their eternal spiritual form, they're still in the material body. So sometimes they're identifying with the eternal spiritual form, and sometimes they're identifying themselves as, this material body and all that it represents here in this world. So that's that connection to the material body is still a slight impediment. At the stage of Sampati Dasha, Sri Krishna, being pleased by the affectionate service of his devotee, kindly removes him from this world to be transferred to his eternal abode in a spiritual body known as Vastu Siddhi. So this is the stage when the devotee leaves the body behind and no longer identifies, because no longer has a body to identify with. Then the devotee acquires admittance into the treasure house of those many pastimes he has heard, chanted about, and remembered as a sadhaka, while he ardently prayed and relentlessly struggled for success in devotional service. So the devotee goes back home, back to Godhead. Those pastimes that you heard about and meditated upon at a certain stage, then you are admitted into those pastimes in the spiritual realm, in your spiritual body. I'll read a little bit more. By the grace of the Swarup Shakti, the devotee acquires a spiritual form suitable for direct service to Sri Krishna, and one day, standing within the circle of Rajmandal, he watches as the rising sun dissipates the many shadows still lurking within the groves of the morning forest. The air is full with the scent of blossoming flowers, the birds sweetly singing, and the wise trees bow to the Chintamani soil. In the distance can be seen the outline of Govardhan Hill, and the Yamuna is conspicuous by the fragrant spray of nectar that invigorates the atmosphere. Moving quickly down the forest path, he sees the moon of Vraj, his cloth billowing in the aromatic air, a fresh garland decorating his broad chest, his hand holding his happy flute. As the sun rises, he must quickly take shelter of his darkened bedroom before Yashoda comes to awaken him to his duties. Coming abreast of each other, lover and beloved stare with lotus eyes, drinking in the fresh vision of their beautiful transcendental forms. Then, as tears of recognition introduce each other, many symptoms of ecstatic love acknowledge their presence on their limbs, and in voices choked with happiness, they speak. As tears roll down his beautiful cheeks, Sri Krishna says, "Oh, my dear Sakha, I am so fortunate to see you once again, after such a long time. Every day I have waited impatiently, thinking of you, hoping that you would return. Now my desire is fulfilled, and I know that today will certainly be a very good day." That's what Krishna does when we go back home, back to Godhead. So let's just go back. So imagine you left your body, you got your spiritual form, you're there in Vraj, you're standing there in the beautiful Vraj atmosphere with the birds singing and the smell of the flowers, and you see Govardhan Hill in the distance, and then you get to know that Krishna is just down the path. So you go quickly because you're eager to see him. And then you see his beautiful form, the broad chest, he's holding his flute. The sun is rising. He needs to get going home. But you run up to him and you just stop and stare there at him. And he's also staring at you. And then tears come to your eyes, and tears come to his eyes, and your voice chokes up with happiness, and his voice also chokes up with happiness, and he says, "Oh, my dear friend, I'm so happy to see you again after such a long time. I've been waiting for you impatiently, thinking of you, hoping you would return. Now my desire is fulfilled, and I know that today will certainly be a very good day." Speaking in a plaintive voice amidst his sobs and tears, that pure-hearted soul, so that's you, the soul going back to Godhead. "Oh, dear Shamasundar, after great effort and after a very long time, I have finally become the recipient of your mercy, and see you standing before me once again. My desire is to remain with you always, in the circle of your associates. Please accept me." Falling into each other's happy embrace and exchanging many sweet words, they passed some moments together on the forest path in Vrindavan under the shade of many desire trees. Hearing the sound of the roosters and feeling the urgency of time, Sri Krishna takes his newfound friend by the hand. Krishna's like, I need to get going home. I'm going to get in trouble. Let's go quick. And then he grabs you by the hand and quickly walks towards Nandagram. A shower of love emitted from their cheerful exchange, dyeing the pathway with its golden hue. The bees hum in approval, and the peacocks tilt their heads. The deer bestow their loving glance. The davies shower flowers. The cows begin to move. The birds chirp in happiness. The waves of the Yamuna clap. The new clouds rumble quietly. The Pulindi girls smile. Giriraj bestows his blessings, and Krishna's robe glows with effulgence. As the flute in his hand sings an enchanting melody of its own accord, the couple laugh in ecstasy, the beams of their smiles illuminating their path back home. So everybody's celebration when a soul goes back to Vrindavan, back home, back to Godhead, then all the moving and non-moving inhabitants of Raj rejoice, and they express their happiness in their own ways, congratulating the soul for coming back home. Dear reader, I, a useless and fallen servant of my eternally brilliant spiritual master, His Divine Grace, Om Vishnupad, Paramhamsa Parivrajikacharya, Ashtotara Shatashri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is the renowned founder Acharya of the Krishna consciousness movement, the crown jewel of Gaudiya Vaishnavacharyas, the empowered Shakti Vesha avatar of Lord Chaitanya, by whose will the holy name of Sri Krishna has been delivered to every town and village of the globe, who has translated and distributed the cream of Vedic literature, Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, for the welfare of all, and who has presented the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam, the 10th canto, in his Krishna book, of which the 21st chapter is entitled The Gopis Enchanted by the Flute, have almost completed my humble attempt at including the commentaries of Srila Sridhar Swami, Srila Sanatana Goswami, Srila Jiva Goswami, and Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, as well as relevant narrations from other Gaudiya Vaishnavas' works in this book entitled Krishna in Vrindavan, the Song of the Flute. I am no doubt unqualified for such an endeavor, but for the sake of my own purification and to broadcast the glories of Sri Krishna's wonderful pastimes, I have dared put my thoughts to paper. May the saints protect me. So let's see how much is left here. Okay, so we will end there, and tomorrow we're going to finish the book. It's moving into an ecstatic conclusion here. So stay tuned tomorrow, and thank you for joining us today. Shri Venu Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bo.